Okay, so recently there's been a lot of hype surrounding Ananta. Now, if you guys have seen, we've reacted to two of the trailers that have come out, and also the news of the gacha being like kind of removed from the game. Well, not fully, obviously, it might still be present with kind of costumes and stuff, but for the most part, character gachas are no longer a thing. But another thing that really blew up in terms of Ananta's popularity was the actual mechanics in the game, especially this one scene from the first trailer we looked at. And obviously, this is a scene where essentially this character is just kind of swinging through the air, a little bit like Spider-Man. If you guys have ever played the Spider-Man games over on PlayStation, again, you can see that the movements are very, very similar. And many people had concerns whether they were like copying or whether there's going to be any kind of like lawsuit that was going to come out of this due to it being so similar, right? And obviously, well, it doesn't seem like that's going to be the case, but there's been many posts like this that say, hey, Insomniac, can I copy your homework looking game? Is it, how do these gacha games get away with straight off ripping off Spider-Man? Not saying swinging mechanics shouldn't be done, but these are literally Spider-Man 2 animations. Now, obviously, yeah, a lot of people have been pretty mad about that, and they've also been putting in comparisons as well to show you how similar a lot of the kind of animations are. And I do agree, a lot of the animations are very, very similar, but at the same time as well, I think that a lot of, kind of swing mechanics do look pretty similar any way you can do it, so I think that it's not that big of a deal, but it seems like we have some kind of other kind of, what do you call it, like confirmation from Ananta devs of Ryuku actually confirming this. But first of all, obviously, Permaband actually talked about this, saying, to answer your question in the second paragraph, Ananta is heavily advertised and marketed by Sony, which is 100% true. If you guys have seen the trailers, PlayStation and stuff have actually been promoting and putting it out. And, they say Sony also owns Insomniac Games. They say number 3, NetEase published Ananta and is also partnered with Marvel and produces arguably the most popular Marvel game of recent years, which, yeah, again, is 100% true. I'm pretty sure they're referring to Marvel Rivals there. And obviously they say number 4, NetEase and Sony have had a high-profile partnership back in 2021. Likely their partnership roles have expanded over the years. They say, so if there was really a problem, Sony would be the ones to sue. Evidently, Sony is not just fine with it, but actually supportive of it. Sony likely gave NetEase their explicit permission to use the Spider-Man mechanics, probably even asked some Insomniac devs to help with the implementation. You can have your opinion on how one-to-one it looks, and I agree, but it is a nothing burger. The parties involved, based on available facts, likely consented to it, which, yeah, I think is 100% true. That is a really good way of kind of understanding the situation. It doesn't have to be this thing where a lot of games are constantly against each other. Sometimes some people want to make good games and implement good animations and good kind of systems to make the game good, right? Again, it doesn't always have to be this thing where it's like, this game copied from this one. Sometimes you can actually have similar mechanics in order to make another game even better. And I think that's what has happened here. And obviously, they talk about Sony and NetEase's kind of partnership and kind of relationship over the past, couple years, like 4 years or so. Right, it's been a pretty close one. And obviously Ryuku confirms here, saying, can confirm today I asked the Ananta devs about this at Tokyo Game Show, about possible conflicts with Spider-Man plagiarism complaints. They told me there's no issue for similar reasons. And obviously, regarding this information here, they're saying that there's similar reasons that Permaband has put here. And obviously, it seems like the Ananta devs have obviously worked with Sony, or at least had some kind of conversation or whatever about Ananta, and whether they could use it or not. And obviously, as Permaband puts here, potentially they could have even got some people on board to help them out with it. And obviously it is such a big non-issue. I think if you're really getting upset at the fact that you're able to do these really cool mechanics in the game, obviously, yes, there is a similarity to the Spider-Man games. I mean, let's be real, it does look like it. It's not a problem, it's something that makes the game better. It's something that kind of, improves your experience of going around the kind of city. And obviously, a big part of this kind of game is exploring the city itself and being able to traverse quickly and in multiple ways. For example, you've got stuff like the cars, where you can get some really nice cars and customize them, etc., which is going to be very exciting. But also sometimes, some things, it's a little bit different, like, for example, floating around on a city, swinging from building to building, sometimes can be a quicker, traversal method and also just a different one. You know, obviously it's going to be a little bit boring if you have to constantly drive and walk everywhere or sprint everywhere, because again, it gets frustrating, and that's why many games have implemented different systems to improve this. And Ananta has chosen swinging, which I think is really cool because again, it's unique. You know, for example, we talk about Wuthering Waves. Wuthering Waves have implemented flight into Arena Sita, and obviously, you know, that looks really nice and it works really well. You know, it made exploration so much more fun, especially for me personally, who doesn't like exploring in the first place. It made it better, and it made it better than, for example, like Genshin Impact. Genshin Impact, obviously, whenever you go back to that game after playing some other gacha games, sometimes it can feel a little bit slow to explore because you have less of those options. Now, some of those options can be explored through like character banners and things. Like some of them do have like paid kind of traversal improvements. For example, you know, Yelan, for me, I constantly use her to run around the map quicker by using her elemental skill. Obviously, there's many other kind of examples, right? And obviously that feels much worse for a player. And you can see how much, you know, exploration kind of techniques like this do improve the game, whether it is copying from another thing or not. You know, for example, as I said, with Wuthering Waves in the flight, do you think that everybody is going to be saying like, oh, Wuthering Waves copied this game because you can also fly in this game? No. Of course not. You know, I think a lot of people, you need to understand that many games are going to, you know, take different elements from other games. You know, it's not like that this entire game itself is centered around Spider-Man. You know, it's not like this guy is some like, you know, masked, you know, hero who, you know, has the powers of a spider, right? That's not the case. You know, yes, the animations are extremely similar. Yes, the, you know, kind of movements and everything are pretty much the same, right? But at the end of the day, there are still these differences that make it unique. And I think, you know, obviously the movement tech of this improves the game in general. And I think that is why people shouldn't worry about what is going on with this and get so kind of, you know, frustrated by it. You know, a lot of people saying, no, you can't copy from my beloved multi-billion-dollar Sony. How dare you? Get real problems, nerd. So VTuber can't read the first paragraph, Lamau. Obviously, yeah, they're saying how do these gadget games get away with straight up ripping off Spider-Man? Not saying swinging mechanics shouldn't be done, but these are literally Spider-Man 2 animations. Obviously, they're going into like the actual copying rather than not saying that so they can swing. Yeah, you get what I mean. They're not saying that you can't swing. They're saying that the animations look too similar. But again, obviously, it's been kind of cleared up by Ryukyu and Permaband here in the sense that they've worked with Sony and obviously, you know, either got their permission or even got some people on board to actually do it. So again, if you're there complaining about animations and things and how they look, just because, you know, they think, you know, they stole from your beloved game, then obviously, you know, I don't know what to say. But yeah, this topic has been extremely popular. I mean, you know, obviously, usually in the realm of gacha gaming, you know, things don't get as, you know, super mainstream. Obviously, this is no longer a gacha game anymore. I don't know if that's why it's gotten so big now, but obviously this got 6 million views over on Twitter, and it seems like Ananta and this topic in particular is getting really, really big. And obviously, I think that it is definitely a discussion to be had, but it seems like it's all kind of been solved here with obviously the Ananta devs kind of confirming there that, you know, they have thought about it. You know, it's not one of these cases because sometimes you see companies copy from other games, right? And they will just kind of like deal with it later. They'll just be like, well, who cares? We'll just like kind of solve it at a different time. Yes, sometimes, you know, that does happen and they just kind of deal with the lawsuit later on. But it seems like in Ananta's case, they have actually, you know, purposely looked through it. They have purposely like actually kind of went, okay, are we copying too close? Or like even, you know, not even thought about it maybe even just like worked with Sony, you know, closely, and that is why they are not worried about it. It seems like, you know, they're not worried at all about any kind of action or anything being taken against this, because again, they've taken all of the necessary steps they need to, whether that is talking to Sony or whatever. Again, they seem to have a plan, and I think nobody should be worrying about that at all, because I know, yes, sometimes games do like to kind of, you know, make now, think later, but it seems like this has been very, very meticulously thought through, and they understand what they're doing in terms of, you know, being so close to the animations, right? So yeah, obviously a lot of people have been kind of dogging on this post, which is quite funny. But again, yeah, people have been kind of criticizing, people have been praising. Again, it's been a huge mixed bag, but I just kind of wanted to add that information there, as it seems like Ananta have confirmed that there isn't any problem with it, and that there shouldn't be any problem with it whenever the game comes out. So yeah, if you guys did enjoy this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Also, go to GameStop, use my code Kaza, get 10% off, sorry. They got a ton of really cool stuff over there, including this heritage merch, which is super nice, by the way. I just got some of that, and it's so nice. Like, the quality is so great. And yeah, I been pretty much wearing it every single day for the past couple of days now. Not just this shirt, I mean the other shirts that I got as well. But yeah, I mean, that's about all I got, and I'll see you guys in the next one. That's all. See ya.